listening to the Star Trek Wars podcast, and today we'll be reviewing the second episode of Discovery's fifth and final season. My name is Jordan, and with me, my co-host, as always, it's Joselyn. Joselyn, we were blessed with 2 episodes of Star Trek Discovery this week. It's almost too much to handle.
It's you could almost call them twins.
We got twin episodes.
Episodes, yeah.
The podcast and Discovery. So we'll be releasing 2 episodes of the podcast this week before returning to our regular schedule next week when the 3rd episode drops. Today we'll be reviewing Season 5, Episode 2. It's written by Alan McElroy, directed by Douglas Aronofsky. And if you haven't listened to the premiere episode, go back to the feed, wherever you get your fine podcasts, and you can listen to that one first if you'd like. In this week's episode, Saru's last mission as Captain Burnham's number 1, the team ventures to a seemingly abandoned planet to hunt for what might be the greatest treasure in the galaxy. Jocelyn, what are your first impressions for the second episode?
I liked it. I didn't like it as much as the first episode because now that I've settled in to the season, because there was all of 5 minutes between the first episode and the second episode for me, now my expectations are high. And so, of course, they had to be lowered slightly. But I still think strong outing, strong episode. The direction we're going is interesting. The last 10 minutes kind of ended up in my cons, but more on that later on. Overall, I liked it.
I liked it as well. I think I liked the first episode a little bit more, just comparing it to previous premieres and what it accomplished and how much ground it covered. I did like a lot of the moments in this episode. There are moments between Saru and Burnham. That's one of the relationships, aside from Burnham and Tilly, that has quite a bit of history, and even more, because going back to the first episode and the second episode, Tilly wasn't even around.
Yeah.
So kind of the genesis of the show, those are the 2 characters that we see in the first episode that are still here, and they've gone through the most together as far as, Saru sticking up for her and kind of being at odds for several years. They've known each other for, I think, 6 or 7 years longer than any other character has known Michael.
Wild, yeah.
Because they served together on the ship with Captain Giorgio quite a bit before going to Discovery. So they've been through a lot. Seeing them together is kind of being his last mission as her first officer. It just kind of comes full circle. So let's get into this week's episode and your pros.
So we'll start once again with the fashion. Vastly less fashion this episode, which is fine. However, I do love tactical leathers. Mm-hmm. Love tactical leather. I loved those out with the shoulder plates that I guess blink if you have an injury on just your shoulder though. Or I don't know if the light was injured. I don't.
It's like
really
the laser tag when you go and someone shoots you, it lights up.
That's what it was. That's why I loved it so much. I have so many fond memories of laser tag.
It would be funny if the aliens come out and they are just playing a game of laser tag. And they're like, no, these lasers don't even do anything.
It was just kind of, you're just out for a while.
Yeah. They think they're fighting for their lives, and it's just like, no,
right.
We're playing laser tag.
No, we're just trying to be your friend. Yeah, that'd be a twist. That'd certainly be a twist. And then also, and I do consider this fashion, but Saru's quarters. I'm so glad we got back into Saru's quarters. It's giving swamp moss moisture couture, and I'm here for it. I love it. It's my dream.
Who doesn't want a little swamp moss moisture?
That's right. Who doesn't want some of that? Hey, I live in the middle of the desert. I could use some of that swamp moisture on my skin. Another cool away mission locale. I love that. We got, instead of a desert, this time we got all the greenery. There was every kind of tree I think I've ever been aware of in my entire life. Yeah, a lot of foliage. A lot of floating pollen, I guess. Yeah.
I got that in my constant.
Oh, man. Yeah. It looked like, you know what it's like when you use a good Puffs Kleenex in your car? And it's just that just white, everywhere. Just everywhere. That's what it reminded me of. Still very pretty. Yeah. Interstellar, intergalactic treasure map. I think that is very cool. I like this a lot. We're on a treasure hunt. We're on
We
an
are.
old
Yeah.
fashioned treasure hunt. We're going to get one piece at a time. We're going to fit it all together and it's going to make an answer. Like, I really like that. I like it a lot. So kudos to the writers for that whole construct of that. Love. And then I really like this one line from Burnham. I think the world is bigger than our own corner of it.
Yeah.
I think that it was a very succinct thing for her to say, and it means just so much. And it was, I don't know, considering how vast the entire galaxy is, I thought that was a very poignant thing from her.
Yeah, and also who she's saying it to, and coming off of the last few seasons where the galaxy's kind of been shrunken down because of the burn and not being able to travel. But yeah, still apt regardless.
It was pretty good. Neutral zone, I've just got to say, I feel so bad for Saru having to run and draw fire in those Lady Gaga heels. And
I feel bad for Doug Jones just having to stand in those
I
things.
know. And then he's clomping through the forest. And yet he's still faster than any of us would be. It was pretty amazing. Is there an action figure of Saru? Do they have a line of action figures for Discovery?
There has to be. I haven't seen them. I know, the Playmates ones from back in the day.
Yeah,
I still have
remember
a
those?
box of 60 or 70 Star Trek action figures.
I know
they come out with some newer ones, but the action figures are like $30 now.
No. $30 bucks?
Or some of them are like 50 or more because, anyways.
Where do you
don't
buy
get me
them?
started.
Where are they?
Online.
Are they online now? You
Walmart
can't
has some. There's no Toys R Us anymore. There's no Starlog.
It's so
None of those
sad.
cool stores.
It's so sad. I would like a Saru action figure. I want it in this specific, tactical leathers outfit, and I want those shoulder pads to light up. It's very important. Like when you run him, they blink.
Like
or something.
the shoes that I wanted when I was a kid that light up.
Yes.
That now annoy me as an adult.
The reason they annoy you is because they don't make them for adults.
Pretty much.
Exactly. That's what gets me.
You got me.
Anyway, pure and simple, there they are. Those are my pros, and then a little neutral zone. My heart goes out to Saru and his feet, and that's it. What are your pros for this episode?
Well, I have to say that while recording a Star Trek podcast, I can hear disruptor fire coming from my living room. The other side of the wall, my son is playing on disruptor, so that's
nice.
It's very apropos.
It's very on brand.
Absolutely. The mention of the Starfleet Corps of Engineers, I know that's a big book series that a lot of people like. It goes into the Corps of Engineers and what they do in Starfleet, so I like that they get kind of a little mention here.
Yeah.
I did genuinely enjoy the exchanges really between Burnham and Saru, discussing their personal history, how far they've come, and a lot of that's been missing the last couple seasons. But just seeing them go on a mission together, this is a better last mission than, what we get to see Wesley Crusher do. I remember watching that episode and being glad that Wesley was leaving. This, I had kind of the opposite of Saru's going to be gone. He's still going to be in the show, obviously. There's still more of his story to tell to an extent, but we're not going to get, as Reno dubbed him, action Saru very much more, I doubt.
Yeah.
Is Saru making puns, saying we're in grave danger when they're standing on a grave? It's pretty dark, but unintentional, but also hilarious, and something that I would probably say. Saru admiring the alien defense system that's currently trying to kill them is pretty awesome. That is just so...
It's very generous of
Saru.
him. Yeah.
I could see, any security officer. It seems like an Odo thing too. Wow, it's ingenious how they're trying to kill us while they're trying to kill them. Just admiring it. It's can you stop doing that and try to help us live?
It's very on brand for his character too, and here's the thing that gets me is they could have done this with any character. You see how well they make a character like Saru, and I know he gives a lot to work with, but to a lesser extent, they could have done this with some of the lesser known, the Reeses of Star Trek Discovery, and given them an actual personality, and then...
I gotta stop you from saying Reese's around me. I just finished a Reese's egg. They're the most delicious things. Talk about the most treasure in all the galaxy. I'm gonna have to have another one now.
They did a good job with Saru.
You also can't say Oreo around me.
No Oreo either. I don't know how that would come up.
Yeah.
The Oreo Galaxy? I don't know.
Oh man. I definitely got Arsenal of Freedom vibes from this, which is another TNG episode where they go to a planet and there are like floating drones that look like exocomps trying to shoot them and kill them. And yeah, it's definitely pulling from TNG, and I hope that's almost neutral zone to me. I don't really have many neutral zones for this episode, if any. I just hope they don't pull too much and lean too heavily, because I still want Discovery to feel different.
Right.
And I feel like, TNG is just the popular, like, give the fans what they want. Everyone loves TNG. Let's do this TNG thing. There's so much more Star Trek you can pull from. Obviously, the whole crux of this season is based on a TNG episode and concept, but I hope they don't, lean too heavily on that and do kind of their own spin, their own thing on it. But that's all I've got. Did you want to get into the con?
I do. I really do, because I have a few. I know we mentioned it's on the last episode, so I'll just touch on it lightly. Again, with the solar flaring, there's a solar flare. Every time we change perspective in a scene, every time the camera rotates around a group of people, why? We don't need it. Where is the solar even coming from? I don't know. Maybe they couldn't make better lighting in the ship and you wouldn't get those flares
Tint the window, maybe?
so much.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
Tint the
pull
view
the
screen?
blinds when you're filming. I don't know, but I could use no more of solar flares. Book. This is just an open letter to Booker. You are inside a starship with full climate control capabilities. You can take your leather trench coat off without catching cold. I get it's part of your look. I get it's your vibe, but dude, that's got to be heavy. I'm getting a hot flash just looking at him in that leather trench walking into the sickbay. Like I could not. Like, just, and if
Everyone
you need to,
looks cooler in a leather trench coat. Like Neo in the Matrix.
I agree.
Paul Heyman.
Couldn't
everybody.
agree more, but maybe you could get like a house coat trench, like maybe something a little more flowy.
Trench.
Yeah, something more like in a cotton.
A robe.
Yeah, something machine washable.
Cotton.
I don't know. If you're going to wear it all the time, like how are you cleaning that, buddy? Like how are you disinfecting it? I don't know.
We'll get George Costanza on this one. He'll find better material to keep you
there
a
it is.
More,
there it
is.
is.
A little more breathable.
Just watch out for the
Yankees look great
shrinking.
Out there.
Yeah, don't tumble dry those.
I don't know if you're actually aware of this, but there is it's kind of funny, and part of the reason I bring that up is with Major League Baseball this season, they have someone new making their uniforms through Nike. There's a company called Fanatics, and they're making the uniforms. And unfortunately, there's been some incidents that don't need to happen where certain parts of the uniform are almost see-through.
No.
Especially when there's sweat involved.
Oh, I have seen this.
Yeah.
I have seen this.
The numbers are too small. They don't match. The Yankees are literally sweating through their uniforms. It looks like, I was going to say, it looks like children made these uniforms, but that actually might
that could actually be the case. Yeah.
But
so
no,
it's a crime in more ways than one. Yeah. I know there is a certain demographic of people who are suddenly interested in baseball, and I wondered why, and now I understand why.
Who's Taylor Swift dating?
Exactly. Well, no, it's the uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
Finally, a reason to watch baseball. Okay.
Oh.
Next con, do you know when would have been a good time to recalibrate the transporter system to get around the magnetic fields? Do you know?
Do I know?
Yeah. I think
before
they go on an away mission.
I thought this was a trick question.
Clearly taking them into a known magnetic field. Like, why did we wait? Why did we wait on this? We knew this was going to be.
It's so funny, the transporter, like what will stop a transporter from working, even in the 31st century with all the technology? Like, there's dust, Captain. We can't beam them up.
We can't beam them up. There's too much interference from the pollen. Oh no, they blew their nose with an especially plush Kleenex, and now we can't see. Yeah, that was and I mean, of course, you need to build suspense. Good for you, but this is a huge con. The next two are the hugest for me. The hugiest for me. They're large. Booker having a familial tie to Mal. I don't understand why in Star Trek everyone has to be someone's sister, brother, aunt, uncle, stepchild.
That's a Star Wars thing too.
This is true. Okay. Why in these science fiction shows, which Star Wars is more fantasy, but we can get into that later. Why? We didn't need it. I don't know why this annoys me. Maybe I'm just like being petty, but we didn't need it. Mal and Locke are serving as the baddies. They're going to be a complicated baddie team because I think that we are going to find reasons to like them. I already kind of like their dynamic between the two of them, knowing that they're in a relationship, like kind of makes me want to root for them naturally. And they serve as a good parallel to Book and Burnham's relationship. We do not need the added whatever it is, the added conflict. I don't know, is this meant to set up like conflict inside of Booker? Like, oh no, who do I side with? Like, come on. We didn't need it. I think we didn't need it.
It has to be that they're setting that up conflict-wise. It makes more sense to me in this sense where, like in Star Wars, you have a massive universe with faster than light travel. In this, where you have the burn, everyone is more centralized. You could potentially, there's only so many places you can travel to. Couriers can go a little further and use different means, but still, I could see where it interlocks. But it does give, Book a personal tie to this. It does bring up conflict between him. It's also going to bring up conflict between Maul and Locke and their relationship.
Yeah.
And like you said, it is kind of a mirror between Burnham and his relationship.
And that was already there.
Mm-hmm.
Without this familial... Who is she? Is she his sister? Is she his
Cleveland
cousin?
Booker's like the Dread Pirate Roberts thing where it's handed down. And the guy who trained him, I guess, is her father. So it's almost like a sister to him.
Okay.
Essentially.
Okay. Yeah. I just don't think we needed it. Because for me...
I take kind of a wait-and-see approach. I didn't love it, but I'm going to kind of see where they... I mean, you can kind of tell where they're going with it.
You can tell where... You already know they're going to botch it. You already know. Because historically, that's what they do. And maybe not. But I'm just saying, I had in my mind this season where Book was going to watch this rogue couple doing their own thing, being out there, being bounty hunters or whatever, living their own life and having this great relationship with each other. And like that would just set up for him like this ethical and moral complexity, like, because he wants that with Burnham, but he can't get her away from Starfleet. And so we had that. We already had it. And then they add this other thing into it. And it's like, now you've just, I don't know. I think it's needlessly complicated.
1 step forward, 2 steps backwards.
Yes.
The relationship, for sure.
Yes. And then my final con is I do not understand how this guy, whose name, again, Ray Vaughn, I don't know what his name is.
Captain Rayner.
God, that name. Anyway, why? Why is he her number one? I mean, it could not have been Booker. That would have been the mistake of all mistakes. And I know we needed to bring Rayner in, but like, this is a guy, got a Rayner in. This is a guy who, without consent from anyone, was monitoring their comms, which is, I'm sorry, but anyone who's listening into your private conversations without your consent or knowledge, that is creepy and needs to be addressed. You don't reward that with I guess, rescuing him from early retirement. I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. It's there. I don't like it. I think we could have figured out a different way.
I agree. So, like, with Rayner, he's obviously set up to be kind of a different captain, obviously. Someone who's, having to change with the times. He's from a different world and has completely different experiences than obviously our crew and any other person that we've really seen in Starfleet to this point. But at the same time, so has Admiral Vance. But he's had to be a captain in kind of this difficult time of war. I get where they're coming from, but yeah, they do set him up as a complete tool in the first episode. And then like this huge dramatic shift of like, he hasn't changed, but the show has written him as if like, oh, he's this cool guy who, is just misunderstood. and now he's going to be the number one.
Right.
I kind of like his character, more in the second episode, obviously, than the first, but I didn't love him at first. He looked like just a generic dude who is, a bad admiral or just a bad captain that's kind of misunderstood. And now they're painting him as like the scene where like he gets Tilly and Adira to like help them solve this problem. Like that's cool, but they don't set him up like that. They set him up as just like kind of a jerk. And all of a sudden like, oh no, he's a good guy.
He's not. He hasn't shown us that he is.
No, I mean, not very much yet. I know where they're taking it, but again, it's just very predictable, and they don't do the work to change him from that. You can't just do that in half an episode.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. And they won't. He'll cause problems. And I understand, like, they are introducing conflict into a story. You can't have a story without conflict, and the only conflict you have can't be between the good guys and the bad guys. There has to be some inside conflict. But like you said, they don't always earn it, and I'm just nervous about how this is going to play out.
Well, I think we saw a really good example of this in Star Trek Picard Season 3 with Captain Shaw. Like, that guy is a jerk. At first, especially, he has his reasons, and it kind of makes sense. They give you kind of that outside perspective that you wouldn't expect, where it's like, no, Riker and Picard are coming from this. They don't. You shouldn't just listen to them and be like, hey, yeah, here's the keys to my ship. Like, he has a career to look out for, and so he has his reasons. And as a fan, you're like, no, let them have the ship. Like, how many times did they save the galaxy? But like, it makes sense to him. But they develop that, and then he does change over the course of several episodes, and then becomes like a fan favorite character. So that's the proper way to do that. This was a little rushed, in my opinion, for sure. And the fact that he's kind of on trial to be in this episode, I found it ridiculous that two thieves who know every trick in the book needed to be inspired to fire at something to cause an avalanche. That was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Like, can you really be held? Like, can you be tried for giving someone an idea to do something bad? I guess maybe you can.
Yeah. In this sense, it's ridiculous, but yeah, in some ways, potentially.
I guess so. I mean, he was.
That did seem way out of, that seemed weird to me.
He's on trial for that, but monitoring their comms without anyone's knowledge or consent is like, okay, we're not even going to touch that. We're not even going to talk about it.
It was in international space.
Yeah, okay.
No laws.
Okay. Damn it. Yeah, okay. That's it.
All yours. Okay. Yeah, I just want to reiterate how much I dislike 32nd century ships. There's one ship here with the detached nacelle look where it's literally just a circle, like a saucer section, with the halo sword behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Which on paper, maybe that sounds cool.
Right.
But it looks not cool.
You miss those ships where it looks like someone's holding their hat.
Holding the hat?
Up.
The top hat? I don't love that, but at least it's connected. I like that more than I like these ships, which is saying a lot.
Okay.
The modern day vernacular that they use in this show can be very off-putting to me. Mm-hmm. There is a next time on, or I think I saw like the season preview where one of the baddies is like, why won't you just leave me the hell alone or something? Just like, it's not like Star Trek. I can't remember how they said it, but it was very much, what were the words you were trying to teach me earlier? Like they're using modern day teen slang in Star Trek shows. I'm just like,
right. If they were like, ooh, that's so cringe.
Yeah, that's
you'd be
so
like,
fetch.
no, that's
like, okay,
cringe.
No, I've been trying for centuries to bring that one back, but it kind of a little off-putting for me the way some of the dialogue is written in Discovery, and a lot of shows are like that. But when you're in the future and they're talking how we talk today, I understand you kind of have to have some of that, but I don't know, don't love it. Maul and Locke, if those are their real names, which I wrote this before they revealed her real name. Because there's I believe it was book or a character that says, if that's your real name, which means it's not the real name.
It's not their real names, yeah.
So we find out, I guess it is her real name, just shortened, which doesn't take a genius
weird.
to figure that out. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. And they say Maul and Locke or Locke and Maul like 50 times.
They say it a lot.
Just like, oh my God, can we get better
They're
names
really
for these
driving them home. Like these are characters that will be here all season, learn their names.
For sure.
Whereas I don't even know that Linus character who's on the ship. Is that his name? Is Linus?
Linus, yeah.
Oh, I guess I do know his name. Never mind.
There you go.
I was like, I barely know his name. Wait, on Discovery? I thought Linus was on Strange New Worlds.
No, Linus is the big-eyed guy on Discovery.
Oh.
The one who had like a sneeze in the turbo lift in season 2 or whatever.
Yeah. Why don't we get more Linus? That's another con. I'm just going to add that because he seems fun. That guy, I'd watch that guy do more stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, he might as well be freaking Morn from Deep Space Nine for all the lines he gets. And again, I hate harping on this, but Burnham solves almost every single puzzle.
Yeah, she does.
Everything. It's insane. And there is like a bit of dialogue where they're talking about Romulans have the back door for friends and loved ones, with the front door for other, which they kind of talk about in Picard, and they're just, I guess, trying to tie the universe together. But like that was such a weird line of exposition that Burnham delivers very quickly about, it might be underneath the statue or behind it or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. That was just some of the writing still a little sketchy at times. Overall, liked the episode. Pretty good start to the season. Really like the Michael Saru stuff, but definitely still some lingering issues with Discovery for me. But I am excited for this, final stretch run of 8 episodes. I think we've set up this season much stronger than previous ones, as we mentioned. And I'm excited to see where everything goes. We kind of have the trajectory of where things should go. It's just a matter of if they can deliver on this stuff and close out. Because I think that'll go a long way for Discovery's legacy of having a strong final season.
Nice.
And, once Discovery ends, there's going to be new Star Trek shows. So that's kind of the bittersweet nature of the show being canceled. Like Paramount needs Star Trek. It is one of their pillars. We have that Star Trek Academy show that will be coming at some point, which I'm not at this point in time
Star Trek Academy.
super excited for, depending on how they take it. If it's like a CW teen drama show where everyone's handsome and attractive.
Hey, and secretly vampires. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Vampires in space. I think that's the only place they haven't been.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't love it.
I'm going to watch it, though.
But, if we see characters who are compelling in a Starfleet Academy setting, and then, they launch into space on different ships, and we follow them around, and we get to see them grow as characters, and, I'm more excited. But yeah, I want Star Trek Legacy. Give it to us. Give us what we want. Anyways, that's what we had to say, Jocelyn. Let's listen to what the fans had to say. And one of our very best friends, Jeremy Reed, longtime listener, says, I like this episode a bit more than the premiere.
Oh.
Hot take.
Hot take.
We got some other characters doing things this time. Action Saru, Tilly, and Adira have things to do. Biggest pro goes to the best character on Discovery. Raynor. Brace yourself, Jocelyn. That a bit harsh and not entirely true, but he is getting real things to say and do, which automatically let him stand out, and I love him. About halfway through the episode, I thought to myself, how cool it would have been if he became Michael's first officer. So I'm excited about that and truly hope he brings some much-needed confrontation to the show. And reminds Michael that she has an entire ship to delegate things to. Thank you, Jeremy. Yes, someone needs to tell her. Cons, just too much Michael. I hate saying this again. I like the character. I just wish she did more captain-y things and less rogue agent stuff. Though she was on the Dangerous Away mission with Saru, Raynor was the one being a captain of Discovery by pushing Tilly and Adira to find answers. Michael seems more like Discovery's chief of security than captain. Stamets and Culber once again relegated to watching Book do things.
I know.
7 action Sarus, or yell in the Street Fighter voice, Sarukin! I guess I probably didn't need to read that part. P.S. The temple action scene was cool and all, but if you can just generate a phaser when you can just generate a phaser whenever they want, why didn't they, after Michael dumped one into the head statue for detonation? They both just sat there in terror, and the drones approached them like we're defenseless. Then once the drones went down, they energized new phasers again. I guess it's for dramatic tension, but it's just ringed hollow and forced. And that's another thing. Like, when you can just have whatever you want at your disposal and just have a phaser come out, like, it does take away a lot of the tension. When you can warp wherever you want, whenever you want, or beam wherever you want, except for when there's dust, it takes away a lot of tension. It was kind of cool that she has a phaser and like pulls on it and turns it into like a phaser rifle. That's cool.
That's pretty neat.
That's like video game stuff. It doesn't work as well in the context of a show. I feel like Discovery has less rules than any other Star Trek show.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of know in TNG and Deep Space Nine what the limitations are, what the technology does, what they can and can't do. They definitely do that in other Star Trek shows too, but Discovery just to a way exaggerated extent. So that's what we thought. Let's get into our ratings, Jocelyn. What do you give this episode of Star Trek Discovery?
I still think it was good, but I did not enjoy it as much as the first episode. So I gave it 7.
Okay.
And let's give 7 Linuses to Linus next episode. 7 Linuses for Linus.
Very good. I'll give it a 6.5, just a little step down from the premiere in my opinion.
6.5? We can do 0.5s?
I've been doing 0.5s for like 2 years, yeah.
I know, but I like to act surprised every time you do.
Okay. I give it 6.5, which, let's see, the fans give it a score of a 7.33, bringing the overall score to a 6.94. So almost a 7. Solid start for sure overall for this season. We'll see where episode 3 takes us. Just one episode next week. So a little bit less going on. It was kind of a weird drop to have the 2 episodes back to back, which, everything's going to be slightly connected for Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely was not expecting that. It is nice. I'm not going to say no to extra Star Trek. We are in a good time, especially coming out of, the delays for the other shows. I'll take as much Star Trek as I can get right now. So so 6.5, Action Saru's. Next time on, Jocelyn, what happens on Star Trek Discovery?
Well, we get another away mission. We are back in the desert, and we are fleeing these weapony type ships in the sand, but you have to be careful in the sand because a creature lurks, and if you don't dance around on the sand in a very unhuman-like way, the creature will come out and just swallow you whole, and everybody gets it, except Raynor didn't read the description of the away mission because he didn't think he had to because he has 33 years of experience in Starfleet, and so he gets eaten by the giant worm. Oh no. And he's dead now. Yeah. Oh, well.
Another Kevin Bacon reference.
You could say he's Dune.
He's Dune 4.
He's Dune 4.
I'm seeing Dune 2 on IMAX this week. I'm excited.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No. I've been out of town last week. Well, Jocelyn, for my next time on with the entire crew on shore leave, Michael Burnham receives an important message and must go find a MacGuffin vital to the survival of, well, everything. With no time to waste, she warps off by herself to save the known universe. After being captured by the Borg, she assimilates herself, takes down the collective from the inside, cures herself, and has Discovery back in time for supper. When Dr. Culber notices a scratch on her cheek, she looks deep into the camera and says, "It's tough to be the queen," and walks away laughing to herself. I will say, I was going to bring this up earlier, but I have tried very hard to podcast this year. And Jeremy and I, for all the fans out there who want some more Star Trek content,
all the fans,
go back and absolutely revisit early season 1 primarily, and beginning half of season 2 that I didn't review on the podcast previously. As I joined Star Trek Wars about halfway through season 2, going back and reviewing some episodes for the first time, and Jeremy kind of rewatching those. It's been 10 years since the podcast started, so doing that together with him. And I literally started first day of this new year with strep throat. Got strep again, which as a podcaster, do anything to me, but don't take my voice.
It's the Black Death for a podcaster.
Yep. And I got the Black Death again 2 months later, got strep again.
Yowza.
And on the very day that I started to actually get my voice back and recover, I went and played softball and took a softball to the bridge of my nose and fractured my face and got a concussion and had to have surgery. So I am just,
That's right.
Mostly healed from that now and can actually speak. So it's good to be back.
It's good
I'm
to be
glad
back.
that
I guess so.
I didn't miss out on Discovery, fortunately.
Fantastic.
So timed it perfectly. So I am back, and you can look forward to once Discovery coverage ends, I believe end of May, once season 5 wraps, of some future Star Trek Wars content from Jeremy and myself.
Awesome.
With that being said, Jocelyn, any closing thoughts on what we watched this week?
I'm looking forward to episode 3. Even with the cons that I talked about, I'm still looking forward to it in a way that I haven't looked forward to Discovery in a couple seasons. So I'm excited by that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having, I like having 2 episodes, but having a singular episode we can kind of deep dive in. And potentially, I didn't get a chance to watch both episodes. I normally watch the episode twice. I watch it just to view it and enjoy it as a fan, and then take a few notes, and then watch it a little more critically the second time, take my notes. And I didn't, because of the quick turnaround time and having 2 episodes this week, have a chance to do that. So for episode 3, looking forward to that. With that being said, thank you all for listening to Star Trek Wars. We will be back next week to discuss the 3rd episode of the final season, entitled Chanel. Until then, computer and program.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.